space.
I built the
A final
Starship
frontier.
Enterprise with LED lights and a diorama, and this is the video. Okay, so welcome to this YouTube video on my build of the Starship Enterprise. This particular model does not come with lighting. I decided to add LED lights throughout the entire ship. It was quite a feat to do that, and you'll see the first few videos of me posting on social media the progress as I went along. Afterwards, I'll revert to some high definition video of the ship itself in the diorama that I built and the ship all lit up in all its glory. If you have any questions in the comments of anything specific that I did, just ask me. I really enjoyed doing this project, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and it's very informative. Okay, so these are the videos I was doing on social media. I decided just to do a talk over them rather than leave the original audio. That way I can touch on things that maybe I didn't touch on in the first videos. The first thing you should note is that I've painted the inside of the ship black. Light spillage in areas that you don't want light to come out of is probably the number one thing you should take note of. I did a lot of testing with flashlights as I painted. You can see all the wiring in there. There's a lot of LED lights, and if you have any cracks or any weak points in the plastic, light will come through and the whole thing will look a little bit silly. These are the little planning things that I did. So basically, when you do LED lighting, you think of it like a railway track. So you got your positive and your negative, and everything comes off it. So you can see in that diagram, you got one set of tracks going across, and every little light that comes off it that I wanted to put inside the ship. All the vestibules, as you can see, they're all painted black on the inside and the paint on the outside. Once all that was done, I put it all away for a little while, and then I went back to it and started doing all the LED lighting. Now, I've got all the lights on eBay. You can find them on eBay. You can probably find them at your local kind of J-Car store or any place like that. The ones that I got from eBay are all pre-wired, all 12 volts with resistors and everything. So all I needed to do was just choose which lights go where. A lot of the windows were clear, or in fact all the windows were clear, but what I did is obviously I painted either the blue or the red or the orange or anything I wanted, and the light itself will either be a flickering light, a flashing light, or just a solid LED white. For solid LED whites, I just used a 1 meter long strip of white LEDs, and I just cut it as I needed it. With the other ones, they were just individual globes, and again, they were all positioned. The other thing to remember is when you're positioning the lights, take your time and make sure you put them in the right place, and not only that, make sure they're fixed in a way that they're never going to come off. If you just use a little bit of tape, probably over time the glue may dry up and they'll just come off. I would actually fix them quite well, and I would actually use super glue as well, and I would make sure that they were very, very secure, because I did not want to assemble this ship. So you can see in there's a lot of tape, and there's a lot of heat shrink all over the connections. That was another thing I was really concerned about, is that making sure that all the wiring that I put together was actually secure and would not just suddenly come apart. If you're going to do anything like this, I strongly suggest you learn how to solder and really put your connections through heat shrink and make sure they're all fixed well. The wiring that's coming out of the vestibules there, I had to resort to a very thin copper wire that's insulated, and I did that because there was only a little bit of room. Originally I had thicker wire and it just wasn't going to work. That's liquid electrical tape. Now, liquid electrical tape is really good to actually brush all over your connections as well. Again, it's sticky, and when it dries, it really just protects everything from any of the elements. As you can see, that's the vestibule once it's all put together. A lot of work just to get it to fit well. And this was not an easy ship to put together. I've got to tell you, man, I just had such a nightmare just kind of doing dry fits and all those little bits in the front. You can see once it's lit up, you can see the flashing one on top, and then you got the flickering one in the front. Again, this was just a choice that I made. I would find the right globes, and all the little windows there on the side, and you can see it's not really leaking any light. Now, the seam itself did leak light originally, and what I did was I put some putty there, and then I basically had to sand it back a little bit by hand and do a bit of a touch up. But you'll see in the final product at the end of the video that it actually turned out really, really well. This is where all the wiring is going to lead to and come out from the bottom, as you can see there. So all these parts, the two vestibules, the disc on the front, and obviously that's the main part of the ship where Captain Kirk resides. I think he's down the bottom, isn't he? Or is he up the top? Maybe I got it wrong. Anyway, that had the three lights in the front, and you can see it just kind of would push on, and then I just have you can see those three lights there. You'll see it when it's all lit up at the end as well, under with all the lights are off. And yeah, just had LED strips in there, and this was all me just kind of like, deciding what I was going to put in there, and I would manipulate the lights, and you can see how that's basically that's an LED strip that's kind of bent over. But everything I did, I made sure it was secure and soldered really, really well. You can see all the light coming out the windows in there, and I was really pleased about everything that I was doing. The hardest part came later when I had to put these parts together and feed all the wires through to come out to the bottom. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the decals. Now, this ship has a lot of Aztec all over it, and I said to myself, you know what, I'm not going to follow the script of what everyone else does. When I built the Millennium Falcon, which is a video, and I've got a little bit of that in this video as well, when I built that, I didn't follow the script because I thought, well, I'll just make my Millennium Falcon original to what I wanted to do. And this is the same with me. I used some of the decals, I used the ones that I really wanted, and some of the other ones I thought, you know what, I don't really want them. I don't want to put all these decals. And if you have a look at the proper build of this Revell model, people have got all the little blue bits and everything, and I've got to tell you, I think it just looks a little bit too tacky. I like this particular model ship. I remember when I watched the movie and I saw it, I said to myself, this is a good looking ship. I know people love the original one from the 60s TV series, but see, some of those decals that they give you, I just think they're unnecessary. Pay attention to the seam. See how I added one of those lines, decals down the bottom. I did that just to hide the putty as well, and my kind of my botchy up work that I did. But I did that on purpose, and it actually turned out to look really, really nice. Some of these decals were really difficult because they were very thin, and the circle ones that you'll see a little bit later in the video, they were breaking on me and they were twisting, and I almost gave up on them. The ship names, obviously, I kept some of the other ones as well, but I didn't want to overwhelm it. So these are the ones that gave me trouble. The red one cracked at one stage, and that other one, that black one right there, that was so thin. And I got to tell you, it really annoyed me because he just broke it, I think, in 3 places. And then eventually, I thought I was going to just toss it, but I just persisted with it, and eventually I managed to get it onto the ship, and I was really happy. Once the decals are on there, I used decal fix, and then I was going to actually varnish the decals, which is supposed to just to protect them, and I decided not to, only because I've got windows everywhere and I didn't want to add more layers on top of the windows. So I just left them the way they are. They're protected inside the case anyway. I don't know that they're going to be affected, especially since I got decal fix on there. Again, there's more of the decals underneath. I resisted and not putting all of them on there. For me, I wanted something to be on there, and I like the color of the ship itself. I didn't paint that little back bit at the end with the brush. I mean, some people paint it red. I was thinking of actually hollowing it out and putting some clear perspex and painting that a clear red so we could have 2 extra globes in there. But I did so much work that with the globes anyway, I thought, look, don't do anything extra because otherwise you're just going to end up damaging it. I got so far into the process and I was so happy with it, and I thought, you know what, enough's enough. You just got to say to yourself, let's just stop there, because if I start to try to do a little bit extra, then I'm going to end up ruining the whole thing. So this is the ship assembled. It's on a neck pillow over there, and that's the diorama base, I should say, at this stage. Now with the diorama, basically I got acrylic cut to size, the 4 sides of the acrylic, and I ordered those to size, but I had to build the base first. So this ship was about 57 or 58 centimeters long, and it's about 29 centimeters wide. So I built something like a 70 centimeter by 40 centimeter base, and I just primed it. It was just plywood, and then I put a border around it. That's a guitar plate from a guitar jack, and I used that for the 12 volt jack. So basically I got the jack, which you wire with your positive and negative, and then all your wires that come out of there, you clump all the positives together, all the negatives together, and then there you go. That's a bit of a test that I did. I got to tell you, when the first time I lit this ship, I was like so nervous. I thought smoke's going to come out of it. I thought, that something was going to short out, and I didn't trust myself. I thought maybe something's going to go wrong. it does get quite hot, and I did put a heat gun on some of the wiring. The resistors can get up to over 100 degrees. I don't know how long I can run the ship for. I think I've run it for about 10-15 minutes at maximum while I was doing some videos. It didn't cause any problems, but I don't think it's something you can leave on for 4 or 5 hours. At least I don't think I would like to do that, just in case something went wrong anyway. But yeah, that's all the wiring there. I've got connectors. It was all done. I was happy with it. And then what I did, I said, you know what, ship's done. Put it aside and work on the diorama. And that's basically what I did. And that took me a good month to do as well. And I'll talk about that in a sec as well. But basically, yeah, the ship itself, I was really happy with the end result and all the lights and how they work. Now with the diorama, I got XPS foam and basically thought, you know what, I'm going to do some sort of a Mars inspired type of planet, which is basically rocks and things like that. Obviously they're not real rocks, it's just foam. And I got a foam cutter. The foam cutter is actually a hot wire cutter. You can get them on eBay for about 20 bucks. And you'll see in the photos and the video coming up very shortly how the ship looks on the diorama. So I did that. I stuck all the foam on there. I airbrushed them. I used oil paints. And then that little gap is between the aluminium and also the edge. That's a 4mm gap for the perspex or the acrylic to just sit in on all four sides. And then I've just got a lid. I did glue the acrylic on the corners just a little bit, and then I put a bit of trim, and you'll see that in the videos coming up. But that's pretty much what I did. I just want to talk about the lighting, but we're going to get on to the videos now of the actual ship so you can see what it's like into the diorama. So this is the completed. Now you can see my diorama. It's got kind of like, I don't know, I was just looking at photos and I just kind of made them up as I went. I just sat there with for about half an hour just cutting bits of foam, and I wanted that one piece of foam for the ship to kind of just rest on. The ship's held by the center because you got the cables coming through the bottom, but the actual rocks themselves, they're just really just cosmetic and just something to have around the ship. Now remember, this ship doesn't land like the Millennium Falcon, which again I'm going to show you a bit of video on that just for about 30 seconds. This actually docks in space, so I thought about maybe I should make it like it crash landed and kind of weather it and put moss hanging off it. And then I thought to myself, you know what, I'll just leave it as pristine as it is because I kind of like it. Now on the lid I've got LED lights. You can see some of them aren't working very well. I've ordered some new ones that's easily changed. I don't know, the ones I got, they're probably just faulty, but you can control those with your phone and make them flash or do whatever you want. I usually just leave the white light on, but just for the photo purposes, I think I just put the white as bright as I could just so we can get a clear image of it. Now the lid itself has got decals on it. Now I had a lot of fun with these. I got the font from the internet, a Star Trek font, and then with the decals I used Inkscape. I'm going to talk about Inkscape. That's a really good program if you want to do decals. Basically I printed them off on my inkjet printer on decal paper, and then you varnish them with a couple of coats of acrylic varnish, and then you cut them out and then you can use them as decals, and that's what you're looking at. They're all decals. So I'm going to talk about those in a sec. Now okay, here we go. So this is the Inkscape program. Now that's a sheet of decals on an A4 size, and basically you've just got, Inkscape is free by the way, and you just choose the font on the left and you type in USS Enterprise, and then what you can do is you can actually choose a stroke color, which is basically the border, or you can choose a pattern color for the inside or the main color of the font. And this is what I did. I basically found a few photos of the Milky Way. As you can see, as I changed the pattern color, see how it actually changes inside. I basically googled different types of patterns, gold patterns, glitter, chrome, and then I found a Milky Way kind of pattern. So what you do also is you can go under document properties and set your page up. I just used A4 because that's what my printer can print on. And then the other thing you do is once you're happy with all your decals, you just export it, and you export it as a PNG, and you can just change the settings to 300 dpi. I save it as a PNG in another document folder, and then I usually open it up on Photoshop, and then I print them off directly off Photoshop and just get the printer settings. As you can see, they're all PNG files I've saved, Star Trek, the logos, everything, and basically you can print them straight from Inkscape, but I just found printing them on Photoshop was a lot better for me, and that's what I did. And yeah, I had a lot of fun with those, and I found a lot of the images. I found an image of the actual ship model itself, and I'm going to show you what you do here. If you want to do a specific pattern, You choose a pattern, you just find something on the internet. Some images are protected, but just get whatever you want. So we'll just use this particular one. It's just some red kind of steel rivets or something like that. So you import the image and then you just kind of shrink it down to a manageable size. You don't want it to be big, otherwise those particular circles will also be big in your font. So what you want to do is you want to just kind of shrink it down, which I'm going to do here. I think I'll make it about 5 by 5 centimeters. Depending on what image you find, you can just play around with it. So they have kind of gold, crinkly golds, or different sorts of things, and I tried a lot of different things. So once you do that and you've got your image, then you do you go up to object, I think, and you go you change that to a pattern. And once it's changed into a pattern, then you can select your font and you go up to the pattern, and you'll see the next one down there. That's the new one. See how it changed it? I'll blow it up here so you can kind of have a look. I'll get rid of that. We don't need it anymore. Now you've done it as a pattern. It's already saved it. And if you blow the font up, you'll see, there you go. So that's what happens. And then you can actually, if you shrink the font down, there is a little circle, a little square, and a little cross. And this is, you can watch tutorials on how to use Inkscape, but basically I just kind of push those closer to the font. And what it does, it makes those little, the pattern a little bit more solid and sharper and smaller, rather than be stretched out too much. It depends on the size of the image that you start, but you can see there when you blow it up, you can see this just, you're just having a lot of fun with it. So Inkscape is a really, really good program to do what they call SVG files, which are solid vector graphics. So solid vector graphics aren't like your normal pixelated files, and they're really good if you want to do decals. So say you're making a car and you stuff up a decal, well, you can actually recreate it on Inkscape and then print it out on decal paper, and then there you go, and you can replace it. Okay, so let's have a look at some high-def video of the ship. Now this is the ship all lit up. I think I've got the lights on in the cabinet at the moment, because if you turn those off it gets really dark. So this is what the ship looks like on the diorama when it's all lit up. All the lights work. No light leaking anywhere. That's another thing you should know. The light's only coming out of the places where it's supposed to come out. I was actually quite impressed with that, because I thought to myself, you know what, you're not going to get this 100%. It's going to be a little bit dodgy, but it wasn't. It actually turned out really, really well. I don't know that the camera does it justice. Maybe it looks great on video, maybe it doesn't, I don't know. But when you see it all lit up and you're standing in the room, it's really impressive. It's not smoking, it's not melting, it's not shorting out. And I think, you know, at the end of the day, it was one of those things where I thought, like, do you want to do this, or do you want to just build the ship like everybody else? And I thought, nah, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it once, and I'm going to do it like different to everybody else. Like I said, there have been other people who've done lighting, and some people have put a lot of Aztec on their ship. I thought I did a pretty good job. Note the lights in the back, they're supposed to be the flame, so I use flickering globes, and you can get 5 and 3 mil, so you need to decide whether a 3 mil or a 5 mil globe is ideal for what you're doing. And a lot of these globes just fitted perfectly where they needed to go. That's a little hole I did on the acrylic, and that's for the lighting. That's the 12 volt, and I've just labelled it 12V so people know, just in case something happens to me and someone wants to light it up, they know it's a 12 volt adapter. That chip there now, it sits in the cabinet. I'm going to talk about a spray that you buy to clean your acrylic. I didn't know this, but when you use acrylic for your cabinet, it comes in a coated paper, and you peel that off. Once you peel that off, it automatically becomes static and everything sticks on it, and I really hated that. But I watched a video where somebody talked about a specific spray. You're supposed to clean the acrylic as soon as you peel it off, and then it gets rid of all the static. That's coming up soon anyway. But back to the ship itself. Again, you know, if you're going to do this, you know, plan it out really, really well. I'm not saying it's impossible. If I can do it, I don't think it's impossible. It felt like it was impossible. I did the ship first, and then I didn't do anything for about 4 or 5 months. I left all the lights in their packets, and I thought I need to clear my head, because it was such an event just to paint it and black on the inside and get the paint and everything assembled on the outside. So when it came time to do the lighting, I was exhausted, so I thought, no, I'm not going to do it while I'm exhausted. That's the spray. It's called Viewplex. We've got Bunnings here in Australia, so buy that. Use that to clean your acrylic cabinets. I tell you now, It is awesome. A microfiber cloth, and you clean your acrylic, and once they're all together. Hey, this is my Millennium Falcon. I can't believe the video hasn't got many views, but this is something that took me the better part of a year. This is the Bandai kit, and it's in its own case with polycarbonate and a diorama, a lot of airbrushing, and it's unique because I didn't follow the script, but I really love that. So now I've got two in my lounge room. And but the Starship Enterprise, I got to tell you, it really rivals the Millennium Falcon as far as, you know, wow factor because of all the lighting. Now the Millennium Falcon does have lights, but not like this. This is custom that I did myself. This is with all the lights off, and once you turn all the lights off, it looks really, really cool. And the diorama, again, it's actually more reddish. It looks brown there, but it's actually more reddish, and but not oversaturated. And I got some little fake grass bits in there, and that you can have fun with your dioramas. You can do whatever you want. Like this was just so. If you don't do a diorama and it just sits there on a little stand that they give you, well then you know what, it just sits there on a little stand. I think if you take the time to actually do something like a diorama, it just actually just creates a scenery thing, you know, and you really show off your models. I want to do a car that's running on a racetrack, and I want to do a chicane and everything. I've got a GTR that I'm going to build, and I'm going to do that next, but not now. I'm just going to take a rest because this was quite an exhausting thing. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you do have questions, just ask me in the comments about anything specific. You can see how the red lights are alternately flicking, but that's pretty much the video, and I enjoyed making this, and I hope you really enjoyed the video. Until next time, see you later.